Good day and welcome back to my channel. It's actually starting to sort of look ship-like. So we have the gun deck buttoned up and the captain's cabin started, right? The lighting is in the captain's cabin. I need to leave that open until I put this back panel on here. And because that panel, following these instructions, right? So this panel here is the panel that the lanterns go on. Now, again, I'm going to be doing those out of order because, they put the side horse on. Now, this has the lanterns coming on way over here on step 42. Thing is, I need to get access to inside there to wire up the lanterns because the lanterns are going to be lit. So I have these two leads here, right there, and holes here on the top of or in the floor for the wires to go through. So a few things to go over. Where are we? Let's start with the Helm deck. So as I mentioned, I did the skylight, and I might as well go ahead and light this up. So we have our lighting, and when we have the windows and all on, it'll be flickering. And yes, I have a skeleton model in there, and he's one that the feet broke off of. So when the windows are there, he'll actually throw a shadow, which I thought was kind of cool. So I thought it was cool, so I'm going to do it. We can see lights coming through the windows there. They'll just sort of be faint, which is what I'm after, right? So I have that lighting working. The lighting for the underdeck is working. You can sort of kind of see up in there. It gives a little bit of a hint of light, which is what I want. I don't want a lot of light. I want just the hint. I'll talk about that in a minute. And what happened to the other thing that I had there? So, all right. Sorry, picked it up. So, now let's talk about the Helm deck, right? So the Helm deck, put the wheel on. I have a little bit of finishing work to do on the seam. Ran cable. Now in the instructions, right, and the instructions here do not have cable running from this wheel down underneath. So I put that on there. Modified the housing for the ship's bell, and that's ready. We have that done. And then I also did the compass cabinet, and that's the cabinet that sits right up here, and you'll see it in pictures of the front. And this was scratch built and detailed up so that it can sit at an angle here, at the same angle that things in, be moderately flat. So that will be there for the Helm deck. I also do have a bunch of scatter, and that's what's going to happen here. So where the wires go down into the floor, I can disguise them as they come down along the sides here. I can hide those in putty. But as they bend out and go into the floor, I have plenty of deck scatter. So I have these crates and so forth that can fit there. And then also for these little nubs that were part of this, or what should be, these small crates can just sit right in that space and get stacked up. So we can take up that space. I have that. I have, sacks I'm working on painting. So all of there will be plenty of deck scatter to go through this. So that's the plan for that. The lanterns are just about done. So this one is mostly painted. I've still got to go through and do all these. But again, the lighting for those comes out looking, doing what I'm after, right? So when I wire them in there, that would actually help to get it connected. There we go. So, and then they will also flicker because they are flickering lights, and that's what I'm after. So I will have 3 of these guys. I'll have all 3 of these guys going off the back when I turn it on. But these have to get mounted to the back plate and then set in. So that's what's coming. That's coming in the next wave of things I have to do. The other thing I've done here is, as I mentioned before, being a gentleman who knows a lot more about the Pearl than I do, I was following his stuff. The ladders switch direction, right? So this ladder in the midships comes up the direction in the reverse. This is what the model plans for, and then this one is reverse, so it's coming up this side. And if you look at pictures of the Pearl, you'll see that that's what that does. So it's a matter of flipping that. For both of these, I did modify it where I added the extra steps because the steps were too far apart to look right. They were probably that far apart, and it looked like, from foot to knee, so about foot to knee distance, which is way too deep. So made that a little more scale. That will have to happen here and for these other ladders. So there's ladders that go here and the stairs that go here. These are going to need to be scratch built as well. That's coming. That's going to take me a bit to do, but it's just a matter of sitting down and doing the work. It's not that it's difficult. There's a little curve to the handle as it comes down here, which is also missing from the model kit part. So you see how these model kit parts, these are the ones that go up front. Where's the one for the back? Is the back on this one? No, it's on the next page. Here we go. So it has the railing and it has the stairs, but they're both straight, narrow, and really not following the arc and the curve that the ones that are on the set. So we'll do that. And hopefully that will have to be among the next things I do, because I pretty much have to build this from the bottom up. Once I start putting the mast on and going into getting the detail work for all that rigging and so forth, and start putting the little sticky outy bits, I kind of need to be done with things that make me pick up the model. So I'm getting to that point now where I'm starting to put this together. I have the decks to do, I have the cannons to put on, I have the rigging for the cannons to put in. We've got some custom work to do on that. I'll get to that when we film that one. But I've actually it's taken me a bit to get here, but there's a whole bunch of little fiddly stuff to get here, right? So making the railing, making the cabinet, playing around with the painting for the wheel, and getting all this. Now these, I will call out, whether you're doing any custom work or not, these panels, the panels for the sides of the ship, are fiddly as heck. Even when you put it on correctly, right? Putting the lower hull pieces in, and then these upper hull pieces, it's very challenging to get them to sit right. What you'll see, and so this piece and these pieces, so the deck pieces, let's look at that for a second, right? See how they have you put the deck pieces are front piece and a back piece, and then you put them together and they've got like this big tab that sits there, right? And you see the same thing on these hull pieces. They've got these big tabs. These hull pieces are stronger and they're more resilient. These are really flimsy. As a matter of fact, I broke this one putting it on the back. What I found was, for both the lower hull, the gun deck hull, and the upper deck hull, you have to work from one side to the other. So either start from the bow and go astern, or I choose to go from the stern and go forward. because it was easier to fold this around these points last. Here, there's a lot of fitment points that are kind of precise. So there's the fitment point for where this deck meets this. There's a lip that's on this piece, and any model builder, you get used to a lip being something you set an intersecting piece on. So if you have a board and you have this lip, you're used to kind of setting it on there. You actually have it butt up against it, right? So that lip actually meets the surface of the deck on this one. So it's a little unexpected, and the instructions are very not clear, right? So it's not clear on this how that goes. So what I found, best way to do it is, get your gun deck on, get that all squared up and set. Then I started here, and this piece, you can actually feel it click in. There's a ridge here where this part goes here. So you need that ridge to be there. So when you put this on, you make this up, you press it, you'll feel a little click. And then you can kind of, almost like a zipper, sort of move it forward. Now, lining this and this piece up are a bit challenging. Now, remember, because I made this facade custom, fortunately, I went from the original. So I was only off by like less than a mil, and it worked. So it would probably fit just a little bit better, if you actually use the kit piece. But you do have these little teeth, and there are teeth in all of these parts where they kind of connect. There's a piece here, there's teeth here, there's teeth that hold these together, which is one of the reasons I cut this top piece off, so I could have those. There are teeth here, and this gap is the best I could do with this side. So there will be some putty and fill there. But there's a click, and as you go forward, those teeth will bite, right? And they'll line up, and they actually fit very, very well. They're just very, very fiddly. So I used extra thin, Tamiya extra thin, and I basically mounted this part. Then I got here and mounted this part. This broke while I was doing it, so then I had to come back and put this on, make that up, and then work its way forward. When I flip around to this side, it went together much better. I was able to get these pieces to click, and you can see they're still a little loose. Get those to click in, this to click in, and then it kind of zippered along fairly well along the whole front, and it fit almost perfectly. So the fitment of the kit, right? So let's talk about Zvezda for a second, right? Zvezda is notorious for, shall we say, creative fitting in some of their older kits. This is great. I have been very, very impressed with the fitment of all of the pieces so far, especially in many ships. So like airplanes where you have those long fuselages, or ships, the hull is brutal, right? It's difficult to get those to line up and fit right. This fits very, very well. It's just fiddly getting it put in. It's just fiddly. So now that I have this done, right, I need to let this sit. I need to walk away from it for a bit so that this can all cure up and get ready. And then I can put the back piece on, go to the lanterns, do the wiring, then I can close all that up. At which point I can put on the deck pieces and start the detailing and work my way up from there. So this is where we are now, right? So I'm kind of here at step 16-ish, right? I've gotten step 16 finished, and I've gotten a couple parts of other steps done. So I'm going to move on to 17, 18, 20, putting those on. Probably going to put the rudder on last, just because one more thing I don't have to knock off. And then I'm going to put the top pieces. I'll skip ahead to step 43 so I can get the top pieces on. Problem is that's going to make some very fiddly pieces on the top that I just need to be careful for. And if you choose to do what I'm doing, then you choose to have to deal with that. I cannot think of another way to wire that without doing what I'm doing. So that's just the price I have to pay for it. The last bit I'm going to mention is I'm now starting to look at color. So like the deck color, I'm content, I'm going to end up dry brushing all this a very light gray, then giving it its wash. The deck, in various scenes, right, they're light or it's dark. The deck has the same color as the hull. It's just all chipped to heck and is very worn. So I need to figure out how I'm going to do that worn effect on the spaces, and I'm still working out on it. I showed you this guy before. The brown's just a little brown, so I need to play around a bit. This is what a dirty dry brush looks like. It does bring out a lot of the stuff we're looking for. So that's what I'm after for the color, and that's what the hull will look like. Then I can also dry brush the highlights, and then I'll make that look all right. I'm playing around with a lot of the brown chipping because the wheel is also, it's much more worn. So this whole wheel housing, if you actually look at the pictures of the set, it's much more brown than it is black. So I'm thinking go back and use sort of an inverse chipping technique and add black to that. I need to put black on this and then highlight so the black is all worn off, because those are all things that have been touched. The same thing for the railings that'll come here, these railings here. These are all things that have been touched a lot, so they're going to be very, very worn. So they're going to be lighter. But that's coloring that has to come. So I've now waffled on a bit about those, and I think for now, I'm going to walk away from this for a little bit and think about, while this cures up today, think about the base and a few other things, and get some work done, and then I will be back with the next. So thank you very, very much for watching. I hope this is entertaining, and until next time, happy modeling.